Michael Knowles praising the Oklahoma girl with a terribly written essay for using big words like mundane. What?
University of Oklahoma is a student named Samantha Fulnecki. Nice, cute, normal-looking, apparently conservative Christian girl. She's taken a class from a trans-identifying professor.
Running through all of the like qualifiers that are necessary for a conservative to feel empathy towards a woman, you know. Young, attractive, looks normal. Okay, now that we've settled all that, we can get to the real issues.
Mel Curtis, who looks like you would expect him to look. Let's put it that. You can see there's a little, in the professor's comment, you can see he looks like he should not be teaching at a university. He looks like he should be in a padded cell. Okay. Why did this young woman decide to take this guy's class?
Where's the conviction? You're just going to say that? It's like you're running through a checklist. Come on. Point out an Adam's apple. Make fun of a hairline. What do you just yeah, as you can see, he looks like gay and like a degenerate. Anyway, moving on. Come on, you're using big words. You have to invoke them with a little bit of moral clarity. If you're half-assing it, your righteous indignation doesn't sound very sincere.
I have no idea, but I don't know. These days at universities, maybe there's not much choice. In any case, she was asked to respond to an article and to give her opinion, her reaction to the article. She did that. It was an article about gender identity. And she said, yeah, I'm not really persuaded by this stuff about gender identity. And here's why. Here's what I think about gender identity. And she cites the Bible.
This guy was on the Adam Friedland show. He was disturbingly charming. It's not really disturbing. Michael Knowles is yet another one of those Hollywood dropout types who got into conservative media because the bar was low. And with his charisma, he could do much better than he could in, you know, like acting school or whatever. It's not really surprising. Michael Knowles is not like Matt Walsh. Michael Knowles is 100% just like in it for the money. He's Candace Owens tier in that respect. He probably doesn't spend much time around conservatives when he's not on the job. My guess is that like when he's done doing his recordings for the day or whatever, he's probably a pretty normal guy. Super, super hateful dude, but you know, it's 100% for the bit.
And the professor loses it. Goes off. The professor says to call an entire group of people demonic is highly offensive, especially a minoritized population. How did this professor graduate from the 3rd grade, much less become a university professor?
It's a real word.
Minoritized? What is minoritized? This is what the professor wrote on the grading.
Always
Bible.
Google it.
Now,
wait, can you not even infer what it means? You can't intuit it from the context provided? All right.
The liberals are saying this girl's a big dummy and she's just a hillbilly citing the Bible and she shouldn't have gotten any points on this because you're not allowed to cite the Bible on scientific papers and she doesn't know anything and, you know, she deserved her grade. Then you have the fancy pants conservatives who are saying, well, you know, actually, I read the paper and it's not very well written. So it's like, why are we defending this girl? You know, it's like she needs to write a little bit better. Okay. And they're both totally wrong. I have here, very briefly, we're just going to look. I have the essay. I have this trans identifying professor's grades, and I have the prompt. Here's the prompt. Reaction papers are graded on a 25-point scale, evaluated on the basis of the following. Does the paper show a clear tie-in to the assigned article, 10 points? Does the paper present a thoughtful reaction or response to the article rather than a summary? Is the paper clearly...
The Bulwark covered this too, and their take was actually dog shit. What was the Bulwark's take on this? There's not really... The only people who could... What was their take? The girl who wrote the essay is obviously low IQ. Like, she shouldn't be in college. She should be a laborer of some kind, you know? Not to say there's no dignity in labor. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people who do physical labor for their day job, but could do academic work. She should be doing labor. Yeah, to the field. Go. But her mom is like a long-time, highly litigious grifter. And it's very obvious that this was a setup. They deliberately had her write a very bad essay when she knew she'd be graded by a transgender woman, you know, so that when she got predictably a bad grade, she could take it to the media. That's it, right? That's the only thing. And so far, she succeeded. You know, so that was the intention here. What take could you possibly have on this? You're either in favor of conservative domination at the expense of, you know, the collective human intellectual consciousness, I suppose, or you're not. The professor did not grade the paper and assistant did. You know, I mean, the details are meaningless in this context. It's just about the framing, right?
Written. That's it. Those are the three things. This is not...
I think it's great that one of the most common conservative grifts is to make your failure everyone else's problem. It's like the Riley Gaines bit, you know? Please, no. I just associate conservatism with failure in our heads more and more and more, all the time, always, always, always failing.
Like you're writing a dissertation from the University of Oxford. Okay, this is a very basic thing. Read a paper, react to it, be on topic, talk about the topic that the paper talks about, but give your personal reaction. Don't just summarize it. Give a reaction. Bring something into the article and write it clearly. And here is the paper that the left and the fancy pantses on the right are making fun of. The article was very thought-provoking and caused me to thoroughly evaluate the idea of gender and the role it plays in our society.
There's how quickly he starts reading it too, like he wants to be done with it quickly as well, you know? Because he knows it's a dog shit essay, so he's like, you know, come on, da-da-da-da-da.
The article discussed peers using teasing as a way to enforce gender norms. I do not necessarily see this as a problem. Awesome. Love that. It's great. Not cruel teasing, but just a little bit. It's okay. God made male and female and made us differently from each other on purpose and for a purpose. God is very intentional with what he makes, and I believe trying to change that would only do more harm. Gender roles and tendencies should not be considered stereotypes. Women naturally want to do womanly things because God created us with those womanly desires in our hearts. The same goes for men. God created men in the image of his courage and strength, and he created women in the image of his beauty. He intentionally created women differently than men, and we should live our lives with that in mind. It is frustrating to me when I read articles like this and discussion posts from my classmates of so many people trying to conform to the same mundane opinion so they do not step on people's toes. But pause here. I just want to point out, I'm not saying that this quick little response to an article is Anna Karenina, okay? I'm not saying it's the most soaring prose ever written. I have read a lot of college and even graduate student papers and these kinds of responses over the years. This is the Bard compared to the prose stylings of what most people are writing. Okay, yes, I agree. 50 or 100 years ago, the standards for writing in universities probably would have been higher than all of these things.
The funny thing is, like, I understand it's a grift. Yeah, he doesn't actually believe what he's saying. This feels like a really ineffective line to go with for me. Like, my guess is that this is, yet again, it's the midwit trap, right? Where Michael Knowles, who is not particularly religious and not particularly conservative, you know, resents the fact that he, an intellectual, and he is, you know, shares all of his purported political opinions largely with very stupid people, you know? So maybe he's chafing a little bit at the idea that what he's expected to do is go out there and say, yeah, this is good. This professor is anti-Christian and a degenerate, and this brave young woman is the only one bringing God back into our classrooms, or something. Like, he understands what he would have to say to, like, just the same, like, there's a million of him that are saying the same thing. But I think that chafes at him a little bit, you know? So instead, now he's, again, put himself in the midwit trap, where he has taken a stupider position, which is that the writing is actually good, a position nobody really believes in, you know? Just because he doesn't want to share the same opinion as all those other people. That paper's barely even 100 words. It's a 650-word essay, apparently. That's the prompt. Me, when the professor says I have a 100-character essay due tomorrow... The Bulwark thought the grade was too harsh because the professor hated the student and they shit on psychology as a science. Well, that's pretty dumb. This woman shouldn't be in school, you know? What's the point? This is one of the problems with making school widespread for everyone. We really denigrate the value of these institutions. A lot of people don't even believe in empiricism. A lot of people don't even believe in truth or intellectualism. Why should they be going to school? Just let them work jobs or something. I don't know. Just let them untangle the loom. He said it's good for today's low standards. Yeah, and he's lying. That's not true. Guys, she's an upperclassman. The woman's not a freshman. That's even more embarrassing. Well, she finally got the opportunity for the grift to pay out.
To what most university students are turning in, this is quite well written. It uses the word mundane, let's say. It uses, generally, with some exceptions, an economy of words. Goes on.
Generally, it uses it. Again, it's the midwit trap, you know? He could have just said, this brave woman's bringing God back into the classrooms. Now he has to talk about this macaroni art on the fridge as though it wasn't made by a second grader. Jesus Christ. Yeah, punctuation is used more or less correctly. Yeah.
I think that is cowardly and insincere way to live. It's important to use the freedom of speech we've been given in this country, and I personally believe that eliminating gender in our society would be detrimental as it pulls us farther from God's original plans for humans.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
They say, you can't cite the Bible. Why not? Well, it's a psychology class.
She didn't cite the Bible. There are no citations in the paper.
Hear me, hear me. The Bible is, whether you believe in God, whether you're a Christian, whether you're Jewish, whether you're none of those things, the Bible is, I think beyond dispute, the best account of human psychology that...
Midwit. Again, this would get you failed at a religious school. The funny thing is that, like, religious people don't actually believe that. They don't actually believe this. You know how, like, I've done this bit before. You know how actual Christians basically live their their normal day-to-day lives, and then they say amen over food or whatever. They say grace. And every once in a while, they'll kind of be like, you know, I think the Bible says X. And then fake Christians will be like, yeah, well, I've read the entire doctrine, and I'm pretty sure there's nothing in there that says I can't kill black people. Like, you can tell the difference between people who actually, like, believe, like, it actually shapes their life, and people who just bring it out like it's a D&D textbook, or like they're role-playing as a character in a, you know, Rogue Trader game or something, right? Basically, everyone was religious a century ago, and if you went to a psychology class a century ago, and you cited the Bible as to support an irrelevant argument, they would fail you then too. Your religious professor would fail you. People who are actually religious don't think you can cite the Bible to support every argument, you know? Kind of render unto Caesar what is Caesar's thing. You get me.
we have. It is better than ancient or modern works of philosophy. It is certainly better than any works of psychology. Psychology, which only really becomes a discipline in the last 150 years or so.
Again, nobody believes this. He doesn't believe this. It's again, this doesn't work for anyone. I don't understand who this is meant to appeal to.
With the work of William James, who himself was a philosopher, and then obviously it's greatly expanded by Freud and plenty of psychologists and philosophers since then.
Me when I know a lot about psychology.
The Bible is a much better work of psychology than all of that. It's obviously pertinent. The Bible begins in its very first chapters with a discussion of this topic, which is pertinent to the modern nonsense that the person's responding to.
What the fuck? Literally, what does he say? Did he not do any research before this bit? Don't you think it would sound a little bit better if he was supporting his argument in any way, you know? He's just like vaguely gesturing.
And here's the trans professor's comment. Please note, I'm not deducting points because you have certain beliefs, but instead I'm deducting points for you posting a reaction, also not grammatical, paper that does not answer the questions for this assignment, contradicts itself, heavily uses personal ideology over empirical evidence. Personal ideology over empirical evidence. This is a dude who thinks he's a woman and dresses up like a woman.
Got her. Again, it's people. The MAGA movement is dead, and people are going to be left holding the bag, you know? All of these people are going to be Ben Shapiro in the future. Ben Shapiro woke up one day and realized, like, holy shit, the entire conservative movement is anti-Semitic now, and I'm a Jew. What the f? And one day, these guys are going to wake up, and they're going to be like, hello, fellow white men of the West. 13-year-old boys want to hear about how feminism and Jews are cucking you, and the 13-year-old white boys will be like, what the f are you talking about, dude? They're gonna talk like Charlie at the end of the most recent Smiling Friends. No, say it. No, I want to know what exactly you mean by that. They're gonna beat the shit out of him. Michael Knowles is smart. He might be able to adjust his rhetoric.
And says in the comment that his pronouns are she/they. But you used your personal ideology instead of... I encourage all students to question or challenge course material with other empirical findings or testable hypotheses, but using your own personal beliefs to argue against the findings of not only this article, but the findings of countless articles across psychology, biology, sociology.
Wow, less than 1,000 likes? And this was posted hours ago? It would have helped if the paper was actually any good. Given the assignment guidelines, the paper was probably in the 95th percentile of quality for contemporary college writing. 12 comments, 13 likes. This is what I mean with the midwit thing, dude. Nobody actually believes this. You've tried too hard. You should have just stayed in your lane, acknowledged that your ideology is exclusively for anti-intellectuals, and stick to that. I thought it was going to have like 10,000 likes. That's crazy. 95th percent. Why not go for 99th, you know? She writes like a freshman. She writes like somebody who's functionally illiterate. If you're going to lie, go all the way. That's why Trump interviews better than J.D. Vance. 100%. Yeah. 650 words also isn't even an essay. Okay, Einstein. Just trying to aura farm over everyone in chat who's got a 100-character essay due tomorrow, and they're procrastinating by watching stream. Now I kind of do want to see what the Bulwark guys said.
Hey there, I'm JVL. That is basically meant to prove that you read the reading. I don't know, like 10 points for reaction. She's reacting to the content. Like, you know, she doesn't have anything real to say. And instead,
What?
the TAs, in their attempt to justify themselves, they were like, well, there's no objective evidence brought to bear. And you said
onto your aura frame.
what tuition is to OU. But if you're, I'd be fully invested in it. And maybe she did everything that she could do, although I don't get the sense that that's the case.
Wait, what are they talking about? Also, psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Wait, do these guys not think psychology is a science? Okay. Maybe you stop skipping through, you'd find out. Yeah, but I'm not just going to watch anything to find out anything that I'm not very interested in. Oh, you want to remember a detail about a movie? Well, pause the stream. Here's a torrent link. You've got 2 hours. No, I just want you to tell me. How do you even debate about this shit? It's just blatant denial of factuality. Well, I don't really know about talking to the Bulwark people because I didn't listen to them talk for more than 5 seconds. But with the Michael Knowles shit, I feel like you basically just have to make fun of him. You know it pisses him off that he is surrounded by these morons. Nick Fuentes is the only person with the balls to actually admit it. All of the people like him, you know, closeted, effete, intellectual-esque conservatives who have built a fan base of people much, much stupider than them, they all resent their audience. Why wouldn't they? You know, they're doing it for the money. They're not here to make friends, right? I think the most you can really do is just make fun of them because a lot of these people are not very stable. You know, you prod them a little bit. Bosh, do you resent your audience? Yeah, a healthy amount, but not for the same reason as those guys. Because I'm not grifting. I can say stuff I actually believe in. I don't have to deliberately make arguments stupider than I am. Like, or what I guess I should say is, I believe the stuff I say. So if my arguments are for stupid people, I'm right there with you, brother. I'm down there in the tart pit, okay? There's no incongruity there. There's no schism. You should hate your audience a little bit, but it's not for the same reason.